So welcome everybody. My name is Esther Bromley. I work for Support Staffordshire. I deliver a lot of our training across the county on a variety of different topics. And I've been working quite closely with the Supportive Communities team over at Staffordshire County Council to develop and deliver this training. The first part of the session is about daily living equipment and technology. We also might know that as assistive technology. And I'll tell you why I call it daily living equipment and technology shortly. And the second part is about digital skills. Now, all of these sessions are aimed at anyone who volunteers or supports or helps out in their community in whatever role that is. And I know now, having done many of these sessions, that the sorts of roles people do who come on these vary tremendously. There might be befrienders or support workers or social prescribers or people who work or volunteer in libraries or people who just help people get their shopping. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what role you do or in what capacity, whether it's paid, whether it's formal volunteering, whether it's informal volunteering. You could be a hairdresser or a vicar. We've tried to aim it at everyone, so it is a basic, thorough ground knowledge of the topics to hand. So it gives people a starting point. So the point of saying that is take from this what is important to you and what you think you could make best use of, because not everything will be appropriate for everybody. Okay, so on to the first topic. We call it daily living equipment and technology. Why do we call it this? Well, when people think about assistive technology, they tend to think about expensive stuff, high-tech stuff, your power riser chairs, your mobility scooters, that sort of thing. But actually, there are loads of things out there, loads of little gadgets that are really inexpensive and really low tech, actually. So this kind of takes away some of that preconception that people have when they hear about assistive technology. So what is it? It's anything really. It's a device, it's a system, it's a gadget, but basically it helps somebody stay independent or manage their own well-being a little bit better. And we know it's really important for people to stay independent and stay in their own homes where they feel safe, where they feel secure, where they want to be. But there may be just one or two niggles, one or two issues they're starting to struggle with. So what is out there that just helps them in that way and just makes things and life a little bit easier for them? Obviously, you do have the high-tech stuff. You have digital hearing aids, you have alarms, sensors, stuff like that, and smart speakers. So somebody might have one of those smart speakers in their home, an Alexa, a Google Nest or a Google Home, or there's loads of other ones on the market too. But perhaps they haven't thought about using them for this kind of thing. But also there's the low-tech stuff, and some of the things I'm going to show you as we go through, and some of the things you'll see in a video I'll show you a little bit later, really does show these and demonstrate these. And some of them are things you might have seen and walked past in shops and not really thought, oh, actually, that could be used in that way. So I'm going to take you through some of those things. The take-home message from this absolutely is whatever issues people have, there's often a gadget that could help them. There's often something that's quite inexpensive that could actually make a big difference to people's lives. So where can we buy equipment? Where can we go? First of all, we've got the local high street. We have places like Argos, Wilkinson's, pharmacies. We even have pound shops. And certainly when I started learning about this topic and went out there, I had a look in the local pound shops. Are these sort of things available? Absolutely they are. And some of the gadgets that I'm going to show you in a bit are available in your local shop. There are also some specialist high street stores where they have, yes, the more high-tech stuff. They might have the electric scooters and their power riser chairs, but also they quite often have this low-tech stuff and this inexpensive stuff as well. And of course, we have online. We have places like Amazon, which is an online-only seller. We also have some specialist online providers, and I'm going to show you some places where you can find out where they are. Or alternatively, the local high street shops that we would ordinarily go to, so Boots and Argos and places like that that also sell online. I put that link there, and it is a link later on in the slides, but I'm not going to show it to you, but because I show it more than anything in session 1. However, it's worth looking here and looking at the daily living equipment bit, because it has not only a list of places that we could get stuff from, or a list of stuff that we can get, but also we can see via our own district what's available very locally to us. So you can find some of those more specialist high street stores. So the cost varies. Some of it you can say get from pound shops. It's £1 up to around £15. So it's accessible for most people. A pen and pencil grip's really useful for people who have maybe dexterity problems or gripping problems. A long-handled shoehorn from a £5, or an easy reach grabber, which you'll see in action a bit later, £10. That can make a huge difference to people. Obviously, goes without saying, more high-tech stuff tends to cost more money. And some of them have services with them. So a falls pendant that somebody would wear that monitors them 24/7 would have an ongoing cost to that. So bear that in mind. It might not be a one-off purchase. I'm going to show you these 5. So as I say, I'm not going to show you that bottom one, but the link is there for you once again. But I'm going to show you these 4 because they all do something slightly different in different ways that you can certainly help somebody else access. So first of all, the first link takes you to Ask Sarah. Now, this is really useful if you have somebody who perhaps doesn't really know what they want, or in what ways they're having difficulties, or what they really need. So it takes you through a series of guided questions, and then we'll give you some advice and information at the end. What sort of things would be good for somebody? Where can you get them from? So how you do it is you start by choosing a topic, and you can go in a number of ways. So first of all, you can think about, what is my health or well-being issue that I've got? It may be I'm struggling to remember to take my medicines, or it may be I can't remember to do things, or it could be reaching stuff. So I could go in any of those ways. There's also this, which is new. This has been added within the last couple of weeks for children, so we can actually look for the children we may be helping. What common daily activities are there that people may have issues with? So from communicating to shopping to clothes and dressing and things like that, so we can go in that way. Or finally, we can go in via the room of the house that we might be thinking, what's available in there? We could be looking in the bathroom or the kitchen or the toilet or where have you. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to pop it into bathing, toileting and personal care. So now it's going to narrow it down for us so we can refine our choices a little bit more. Is it using the toilet? Is it bathing? So I'm going to click bathing, and I'm going to click taking a bath. Now I'm not going to take you through this because there are a few questions, but just to show you a couple of questions to give you an idea of the sorts of things it might ask. So do you experience difficulty stepping in and out of the bath? We can just click sometimes. Do we have difficulty standing for sitting? Yes, we do, etc. And it takes you through. If we've really gone in the wrong kind of direction, we can go back to step 1, but we can also progress through. And at the end of that, it will show us a list of advice of things that we might have or use that enable somebody to do that better. So that's Ask Sarah. The next link is to Living Made Easy, which is connected to Ask Sarah. That is part of it. And in fact, you can access that way as well. This is useful if you are fairly familiar with the sorts of things that you might want. You want to go directly to the full range of options. So this is just doing the same thing in a slightly different way. So as you can see, you've got all your various boxes, you've got your higher level menus, and then your more refined options as we go through. So for the purposes of this demonstration, I'll stick with bathing. So I'm going to click bathing, which is under personal care there, and let it just come. It's just been slightly slow there. And then it'll give me a bunch of different options that I might find useful. So I'm going to click bathing and showering equipment with colour contrast, because my individual might be struggling with visual problems and then struggling with falls risks because of it. So then, as you can see, it's going to show me a load of different products, and they range very cheaply there from £13. There's one further down yet from £11, all the way through to something quite expensive at £513. So we can go through it and we can see what's available. We can view the product, we can add it to a compare list, we can look at it in more detail, and it will tell us, even if I just pop into that, it will tell us a list of sellers where I could potentially get this from. As you can see, it's got a list down there along with some ratings. Of course, we can use this just to get ideas and then go and do our own searches on what we think is a cost effective or the best solution for our individual. So that's Living Made Easy. The third link is to the Disabled Living Foundation. And the reason that I've put this in is for the fact sheets. So it has some really, really good fact sheets. This is helpful if you have a premises maybe where people come in and ask these type of questions reasonably regularly, and you can point them in that direction. Or if you're visiting somebody in the home and you want to have something printed with you or something to refer to. So I'm just going to show you this full list of fact sheets. There are 41 fact sheets, and they are divided up into three main categories. First of all, you've got a lot of information on living with dementia, then adapting your home, and then the bulk of the fact sheets are around choosing equipment. So once again, I'm going to choose bathing. So I'm going to choose number 32, choosing equipment for bathing. So we can do a few things with this. We can download it, so we can save it as a PDF. We can send it out to people via email or any of those sorts of things. We then have some clickable sub-menus at the top. So if we want to go directly into the part of the fact sheet that we're most interested in, or we can just scroll down and read it. It is lengthy. For this sort of thing, I'm of the old school opinion that I like to print things off. I find things difficult to read if there's lots and lots of text over lots and lots of space. But, you know, everybody's different. You might like to just go down and read it. What is important about doing it online, though, is peppered throughout it are a bunch of different videos. So they demonstrate the products in action so that we can show somebody or somebody can see it for themselves, what sort of things are out there. You can see another one, and that carries on all the way through the fact sheet. So that's a really useful bit of information for those people who might need some help with choosing equipment or, as I say, adapting their home or living with dementia. The final resource that I've popped on there is the Daily Living Equipment and Technology part of Staffordshire County Council website. Now, I do cover this on session 1, so I'm not going to spend a great deal of time on this, but I did want to point it out because it has had a big refresh about 2 weeks ago, and this part has had loads and loads of new additions, and where they've really pulled everything into one place so that we can access it pretty easily. And we can find the local retailers there, we can find community help points, we can do all of that from this link, but also, rather nicely, we can click into the part of the house. So this is a really nice visual, really easy to see, and we can go in from there, or we can just click the area. As we go down, there are some other information and bits and pieces that we may find useful. So fact sheets, videos, and guest ideas. If I just clicked into the bathroom again, again, it's going to show us some information around what resources are out there and related to bathing and personal care. And then again, we can follow those links below. Okay, I'm just going to go back to my PowerPoint. So those are the first 4 links there, so please do follow through. Staffordshire Connects, the other thing it has is a download that you can print off or keep in some electronic form called Box of Tricks, and that is about all the different gadgets that you can have. It's quite comprehensive, it's got lots of information, but it has all the specialist high street stores by locality located within it. So again, something quite useful. And when this training was first developed, we were going to also have a bag of tricks. So the idea was we'd get some of the implements I'm going to show you in a moment. We'd have it in a bag. You could have a play with it and see how they work and how they help people, because sometimes there's nothing better than having a go, is there? And if you want to recommend something. But obviously we can't do that on Zoom. However, that plan is still in place, it's still in progress, and the idea is that they will be available at community help points so that individuals coming in can have a look through and apply themselves. So look out for that in the future. Oh, I don't need to do that. I've just clicked the wrong thing. Bear with me. Just bear with me. I'm going to stop share a second because that's going to be a lot easier. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to show you some examples of equipment that we might find useful, and I've tried to pick out some of the inexpensive stuff or the stuff you might not ordinarily think of, as well as the more traditional items as well. So food preparation. That there is some foam tubing, and depends how big your screen is as to how well you can see that, but basically foam tubing has different bore diameters. You can cut it to different lengths, and then you can pop it on various implements to help somebody grip easier. On those implements that are on there, if you can't see it very well, there's things like combs, screwdrivers, toothbrushes, pliers, cutlery, pens, all sorts of stuff on there that enable somebody to grip easier. That is a contour knob turner, so it just gives somebody that leverage they need to turn something that might be tricky to do. So obviously you've got a gas knob there, there's also radiator taps that could be used with, or anything along those lines. That is a high-sided plate guard that helps somebody who can only eat one-handed to push their food against to enable that eating to happen a little bit easier. Those are talking tins, so we can record a message of up to 10 seconds and the person can play it back at a touch of a button. Obviously, it's available for use on other things rather than tins. As you can see, it is also on a bottle, useful to remind somebody of something. And how hard are ring pulls to open sometimes on cans? That is just something that would make it a little bit easier. Some other examples, automatic can openers, that's really difficult for lots of people. Things that enable somebody to have that extra grip, so peelers and graters in this instance, there's other things available. For visual problems, there might be large screen displays or something that talks to them to tell them how much they've measured. Things that hold food in place, chopping boards, spreading boards, again, that one-handed action is needed some assistance with. How awful is it to eat cold food? It's not very nice, is it? Somebody who might have difficulties with eating for a variety of different reasons might then start to struggle and get malnourished as a result, because it's really not appetizing eating your Sunday roast when it's gone stone cold. Lots of things to help somebody reduce the risk of spillages, and that of course is a falls risk in and of itself. So non-slip trays, tray liners, mats, that sort of thing, but trolleys also to move things around. If you know somebody hasn't got a very good grip or is a little bit unsteady for whatever reason, a trolley could make a big difference. Lightweight saucepans and wire mesh baskets. When I see wire mesh baskets for sale, they're not really advertised for this purpose, but actually it's a really good use of them. Some people find that holding really big heavy pans of hot boiling water is hard. Obviously you've got a scald or burn risk there, and just generally it's difficult for people. So a wire mesh basket, you can just pop your pasta, your potatoes, your veg in, whatever it may be, lower it into a pan of boiling water. It saves the need to try and then tip it into a colander or a sieve. Equally, lightweight saucepans just reduces the risk of somebody struggling with a hot pan. And with a wire mesh basket, you can just let the hot water cool until it's of a state where it's not a risk anymore from a burn or scald issue. And angled cutlery. So somebody who might have difficulty with shoulders, with their elbows, with their wrists, any of those sorts of joints, angled cutlery can be a real game changer for them. So with drinking, we have two-handled cups that are useful for people who struggle to hold on with one hand or maybe have tremors for whatever reason. That's a hydrant drink system, just eases that drinking for people. That's a non-slip tray, a bottle opener, very traditional kind of thing we might use. A kettle tipper. We've got again the issue with hot boiling water and somebody lifting it up. That's made of either wire or plastic and helps somebody reduce that risk. And then we have hot water drinks dispensers. Obviously a little bit more of a cost to that, but it takes away the need for a kettle. We also have anti-spill cups, two-handled china cups and saucers. How amazing are those? Lots of people still really like the traditional china cups. Angled cups, weighted cups or weighted cuffs, again for somebody with tremors. Water bottles and intelligent hydration systems that remind people to take a drink every so often. Straws of various different varieties, including one-way valves. Somebody with reduced suction might find them really useful. And a 1-cup kettle or water dispenser. Falls, a real issue at the moment. We know as people are struggling to leave their homes for a variety of reasons, that is becoming even more of a risk than it was. So obviously grab handles that you can install in different parts of the house. That is an easy reach grab. I'll show you that in action again shortly. Steps. Overreaching is a big falls risk. Steps have to be chosen quite carefully. They've got to be pretty sturdy and pretty safe, and obviously falling from a height is even worse than a normal fall, so chosen really carefully. That's a touch lamp. So individuals who may have lamps where there are switches on the trailing wire, as you lean over and do that kind of thing, turn it on, etc., that again can be a falls risk if somebody comes quite lightheaded, if they are struggling in order to reach the wire or the switch. A touch lamp just takes away that. That's a falls pendant I mentioned earlier. And in some sort of intercom system for those individuals who have lots of people coming in and out, or maybe they've got support coming in once or twice a day, and it just reduces that risk. Other things that we can use are raised toilet seats, bed sensors working in a similar way to fall sensors, exercise equipment. Those people who aren't leaving their houses, they can still do stuff within their own homes. There are seated arm bikes, for example, or foot bikes. There are things that we can have that are kind of like resistance bands for individuals where they are still exercising those muscles. There's walking frames, obviously, to help somebody unsteady on their feet, power riser chairs. Lighting is key. Lighting is key with falls risk. So that could be outdoor lights, particularly at this time of year when it gets dark so early. But also, if somebody gets up, a lot in the night, maybe they go to the toilet every so often, can there be some sensors on the way to the toilet, or some sort of night lights that just guide the way? Key safes, again, for somebody who might be getting visitors fairly regularly. I've already said that about lighting. Coloured tape on the edge of stairs. It's not very aesthetically pleasing, of course, but some people find it difficult to distinguish where the edge of the step is, and that can take away that risk. Sock aids, I love sock aids, you'll see them in action shortly. And bathing equipment of different varieties, and again, you'll see that in action in a minute. The final main area I want to tell you about is about medication. Again, we know that lots of people have difficulty in this. That is a blister pill popper. So some of them can be so difficult to get out of their packets. This just does the job for you. That is a pill organizer box, and I'm sure you've seen them. They can be like that. They can be divided up into morning, afternoon, evening, all sorts of different ways. A word of caution with this: ideally we should be encouraging people to store medicines with their original packet and instructions, so there's no confusion can happen. However, we know that sometimes this is very much needed. Some sort of system is needed, so use it carefully and appropriately. That is a lotion applicator, and that is a pill crusher. Not all pills can be crushed, so do check the instructions before you do that, but if it is required and somebody's having difficulty with swallowing pills, then that might be an answer. lots of other medication aids. So they've got eye drop dispensers, and then things to basically remind somebody. And they can go from a good old medicine chart, reminder on the wall, something very, very low tech, all the way through to if somebody's got a smartphone or a smart speaker, and you can set reminders every so often. Many, many more examples, lots of things in every category. But to give you a little bit of a rest from my voice, I'm going to show you a video of some of it in action. As I said earlier, that video is able to be clicked on when you get the slides from this session. So the link will take you to here. There's two videos. There's Lee, who talks about his daily living box of tricks, but we're going to listen to Patricia, who helps some simple ways with washing and dressing.
Do you have problems with dressing? If you do, we've got different tools that you can use. This is called a dressing stick. You can use it to help put your shoes on. So it's like put your foot in and there you go. Also, there's a piece on this side which you can use to hook your trousers on or put your pants on. Also your shirts, your jumpers, cardigans, anything like that. It'll go up your sleeve as well. So that's one of the things that we use. Do you have problems with washing your back or your legs or any other part of your body? There are different equipment that you can use. This is like a long handled sponge. Sometimes people prefer these, and then you've got another piece of equipment which is like a long handle, which is a scrunchie. So with your sponge, if you want to wash your legs, you can just put your soap on or shower gel, whatever you want to use. The other equipment which a lot of people quite like is this one, because it's a little bit softer and it doesn't splash the water so much as the sponge. And it's just really good to wash your back and wash your arms and obviously your legs, feet. You can get another one, I believe, that's got a part that you can do in between your toes as well. This is what we call a leg lifter, and if you're having problems getting into bed, you can hook it onto your foot. You've got a little hoop there, hook it around your wrist, and then it helps you get your legs into bed if you're struggling with that. And that's really good for people who've got problems with their hips and can't get into bed, and it's a good piece of equipment that's used. This is a long-handled comb that people can have, so if they've got problems with their joints, if they've got arthritis, they can just comb their hair, and you can have it a little bit shorter if you want to. This is another piece of equipment, a lotion cream applicator that's good for if you're struggling to put cream on. It's got a little terry towel in that you put that into your cream pot, and then you can cream your legs or cream your back or your arms or anywhere that you're struggling to reach, really. This is called a helping hand, and a lot of people find these very, very useful, really easy to use. You just put your fingers on there, it's got finger grooves, squeeze it, and then it opens the clasp there, and then you can just easily pick something up off the floor, and that's it. You can put it anywhere you like to, because it sits on the arms of chairs, or if you've got frames or trolleys or anything like that, it'll just hook on there, and it's just another really good piece of equipment. If you're having difficulty getting dressed and one of the things could be putting your socks on, this piece of equipment is really good. This is what we call a stocking aid or sock aid, and for people who are struggling to put their socks on, you put your sock on the outside of that, and then you put it onto your foot, and obviously you've got your long handles as well, and then if your foot's inside and you just slide it up and then it just comes out.
Okay, so hopefully that's given you some ideas of other things that I haven't gone through on the PowerPoint themselves. So as I say, there's another video on there if you want to see other things in action. So basically, the main take-home message from this is there's definitely a gadget that could help somebody. Have a look around those resources that I've given you and see what would be useful for somebody that they could use to make their lives a little bit easier. So I'm going to move on to digital skills now and getting somebody online. Sadly, I don't have the solution to all of the problems that I know are out there when we talk about digital inclusion. And I wish I had a whole host of tablets and laptops that I could just dish out, as well as a really good broadband connection to some of our more rural parts of our county. However, what I can do is talk to you about how to help somebody get online, what you can do with them, what resources are out there to give somebody practice at getting stuff out online. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic that we are currently in the middle of, we do know that people are isolated, and that groups that they may well have attended or sessions that they may have taken part in have either stopped or maybe they've gone online, but how do they access it? How do they go about doing that? So hopefully this will give you some hints and tips. Firstly, obviously, talk somebody through it. And this potentially would be over the phone at the moment. Ideally, it'd be sitting there with them and doing something with them, but talking them through it, thinking about what they want to do. What's the kind of long-term plan? Why are they interested? It might be that they want to do a video chat with their loved ones. It may be for Christmas even. It may well be that somebody wants to do their shopping online. But think about what could somebody do fairly immediately. What could they get to grips with doing today? Maybe it's checking what's on the TV tonight, or what the latest news is. Find something that's very simple to do so that person has a real sense of achievement right from the off. Obviously, doing things slowly is really important, taking our time with somebody, making sure that we put aside time when we've both got the ability to do it and we've got the time and the patience, and away from those distracting environmental factors as well. Jargon. So I have used computers for almost as long as I can remember, so I know lots and lots of jargon about computing, and it's so easy to assume that somebody else knows what I mean. So if I say to somebody, move your mouse and click that, they probably won't have a clue what I'm talking about if they've never been near a computer. So think about explaining things simply in language that somebody else could well understand. Explaining things simply, there's no right or wrong way with explaining things. We all have different methods, but just trying to do it in a way that makes sense to somebody else. And not telling them everything at once, because explaining absolutely everything is so overwhelming. Just make it simple. What does somebody need to know in order to do one task? And start there. Obviously, people learn best by having a go. We don't necessarily learn by sitting and watching somebody or reading about it. So try and let them have a go. Reassure them that they're absolutely not going to wipe the internet if they press the wrong key or break the computer. And actually, we do learn from our mistakes really well as well. It's not just about doing things in the correct way, it's learning from how not to do things. So try and resist the impulse to swoop in when somebody's about to go wrong. But equally, perhaps think about when you would need to step in. If somebody's really floundering and really starting to struggle, then obviously they're going to get frustrated quite quickly. Repetition is key. We are not computers ourselves. We don't learn that fast. Lots of people have different learning methods and different learning ways of getting to grips with something. They could make notes, and making notes yourself is often the best way, because you don't always remember stuff, or perhaps you don't remember it in the same way. So when I write something down, it will make sense to me in my language, in the way that I think, and perhaps wouldn't make sense to somebody else. So repetition, encouraging somebody to read it, write it, is really important. And finally, we might be thinking about what sort of device would they use. So we might not be experts in that. We might not be experts in what's the latest and greatest bit of technology. I'm certainly not. However, I can help somebody decide what type of device is best to them. So if I'm talking to them and I find out actually what they really want to do is write that book they were always going to write their entire lives, well, I know in that sense that a tablet won't work, because how difficult it is to put lots and lots of text in using a touch screen only. So maybe a laptop, maybe a desktop computer is best in that circumstance. But if we know that that person just wants to play games, maybe has video chats with people, do the odd bit of shopping, send the odd email, then a tablet might work for them. Think about somebody's needs, so their visuals, their visual ability may dictate what sort of device that they have. So if somebody struggles to read, a smartphone might not be best, because if you have to zoom into the point where somebody can read, it might actually make everything out of very difficult to read and out of sync with everything else. So a tablet or even a computer or laptop might be best. Or somebody might struggle using a mouse. They might not have that dexterity, but could use a tablet. So there's lots of ways we can think of to encourage somebody to choose the right device. So hopefully by this time you will have had a thought about, you would have encouraged somebody to get online. They might have had their first go. So what are they going to do long term? What sort of things are out there? Well, first of all, you can have a look on Staffordshire Connects. It's got lots of activities, lots of groups that are running in certain circumstances, and they may have virtual groups going on as well. We also, on our own website, Support Staffordshire, have a list of resources and things that people can do at home. So they may be things like activities, arts and crafts. It may be virtual tours of places of worship or museums or zoos. There may be activities on there around activities with children. So loads and loads of information on there. Games could be really useful for some people. Thinking back to that social aspect that we're all missing at the moment. If you find somebody is a really keen bridge player, maybe that's what they used to do every Thursday lunchtime, and they can't do it anymore and they're missing it dreadfully. They might be really surprised to find that they can do that online, and they can chat to people, meet new people by exploring that game. And games, it's about finding the right level for somebody. Something too easy and you know what, they're going to get fed up and it's just a waste of time. Something too difficult will be very frustrating. Email is necessary for a number of things. So if somebody wants to do shopping, or if they want to do some of these resources that I'm going to show you at the end, they are likely to need to register, and that will include having an email address. Make sure it's something easy to learn and easy to know. Something like Gmail or Outlook have apps that somebody can put on their tablet or their smartphone, and it's really easy, it's intuitive. Millions of people use them, and it shouldn't pose too much of a difficulty. There may be hobbies and interests that people have. I mentioned earlier, it might be art and craft hobbies. It may be creative hobbies. It may be that they'll find YouTube and find how to make a new bookcase, or do up their home in some way, or do some gardening, or create a new ecosystem. It's just anything and everything's out there, but it's about asking them, what are they interested in? And then try and find an appropriate place for them to go and look at. Social media. Social media is an interesting one. There may be some thoughts that, you know what, it's a waste of time. People are horrible to each other on there. I don't really see the point. Everybody's going to steal my details. Everybody's just spreading fake news, and I'd agree with a lot of that, to be perfectly honest. However, social media does have its benefits in connecting people, and that's what it's all about at the moment. And we can help them do that in a way that's safe and easy to manage. So doing things like making sure that somebody doesn't give out their personal details, they close down their profile and they make it private. They don't accept friends or requests to follow, that they don't know who they are. They know that if they post something on the public page of something that lots of people read, that actually everybody's going to read what they say. We might teach them how to block people, how to report people for unkind or abusive behaviour, or turn off their notifications so it's not all just simply takes over and it's just too much for them. So loads of things we can do with social media and encourage them. It is a good way. It is a good way to connect with people if it's done in the right way. And finally, shopping and banking. Again, there may be some reluctance with this. People know that there's loads of individuals out there who seek to take advantage of others who are trying to exploit them. and that's sadly never going to end. So some of the things we can put in place that I'm going to talk about in a minute about security can help negate some of those risks. However, it is it is a slow process with somebody to help them, encourage them to use internet banking or to use shopping. But it may be they just go, do you know what, it's really not for me at the moment, and that's fine. We have to respect people's personal decisions. With video calling, I've put 3 there that are commonly used. So obviously we're on Zoom at the moment. It's also Microsoft Teams, the Skype. There's loads of others. They are certainly not an exhaustive list. There again may be some concerns around privacy, but there's certain things we can put in place that enable somebody to feel safer using them. So encouraging the use of waiting rooms, making sure that links don't get spread out to anybody that doesn't need to know them, making sure that people join using their real names. All of those things are things that we can encourage people to do. Every video app will have their own security hints and tips with it. So I suggest you probably pick whatever's familiar to you. For me, it's probably Zoom. I know it the most. I have used Teams. I've never used Skype. So I would naturally go to the thing I know best and teach somebody how to use it in that sense. Which brings me on to my final slide before I show you all the resources I've got in this area, which is obviously staying safe. Now, this isn't something you'd approach in day one because it can get quite complicated. However, there are things you definitely need to think about. First of all, viruses. Viruses are very much out there. It's important that we all have good antivirus software. These are easily accessible. All we have to do is Google free antivirus software, download it onto our machines, and it will do the job in the background for us. Software updates are important, encouraging the person that we're helping to follow it when it says there's some important updates to have, because quite often they are a security flaw where there's a patch for it. Without them, their details might not be as safe as they were. Passwords, really important that people know how to use passwords well, that they don't choose ones that are easily recognised or guessed by somebody else. So hopefully we've come a long way from us all using our first name followed by a number followed by an exclamation mark, because even I was doing that at some point. However, we know that that's easily guessed by other people. Loads of people use those sort of passwords. We need to come up with something a bit more unique. One idea or a couple of ideas. Somebody has a favourite book or a favourite poem, you could take the first letter of every word of that book or poem and use that as your password. Maybe change some of the letters to symbols. So your A could be the @ symbol, the L could be the number 1. Those sort of things are easy to do, very unlikely to be guessed. Or you could just pick 3 random words, any 3 random words out of the dictionary, and remember them. Again, they are so random, nobody's going to guess them. There are also systems that we can use like LastPass, and that's not the only one, but there are things that we can add that then will do that job for us and make sure that we don't have to remember endless amounts of passwords. Email scams, we've come a long way from the uncle in Nigeria we all had that was going to that's died and has given us $1 million or whatever it was. Scams are really sophisticated now, really, really sophisticated and easy to fall for, both on email, on phones, on the phone, anything like that. So the more information we put out about scams, the better. It's encouraging somebody really to make sure they know who they're talking to, that they're never going to be asked for their passwords. Nobody's ever going to ask them those sorts of details on the phone or in an email or in a text or anything like that. Don't follow any links within emails or anything like that. If you are thinking that your bank has contacted you, call the bank on the number that you know or you find. Don't follow the links. Being careful to what to download, even though we've got those antivirus software on there, sometimes it can lead us into a bit of a risky situation. And as I've said, don't give away any personal information. My final slide, I'm just going to show you these, has got 4 resources in them, and I've picked them again because I think they're really useful. And since I started delivering this training back in September, they have updated as well, which is really good. So the first link that I'm showing you is from Age UK, and I picked this for two reasons. This is one that's absolutely been updated. Got loads of different topics, as you can see. I picked it partly because it's got this A to Z of online terms, so somebody might want to learn a bit more and know what all these weird words mean. That's a really good resource. And I also picked it because it's got some good information on video calling, and it's specifically, this information really is geared towards older people. Of course, anybody can use it, but it is to try and reassure those members of our community who might have some serious worries and doubts about what they're doing. Obviously, lots of other links on there too. The second link that I'm sending you is Learn My Way, which is a national programme, and we can go on Learn My Way and learn about the basics of using the computer. So you can either help somebody else or you can just delve in there as an individual, and it covers these 9 different topics, right from using your computer and device, what are the basic stuff that you need to learn, here's how to practice it, and through to online safety, improving your health, managing money, loads of things, loads of elements there. So I'm just going to click that. As you can see, it's got different topics within it. So we can see, we can start this subject, we can watch the video about this subject, or we can delve straight into the areas that we are interested in. So this is somebody right at the beginning needs to learn how to use a keyboard or a mouse, touchscreen or a computer. What I also like about this site, it has tons of external resources as well. So if somebody wants to learn to type properly, it's got a typing tutorial. Drawing a stick man to help somebody learn to control the mouse a bit better, or play solitaire again. That's another one that needs a bit of dexterity. So there's loads of stuff down there that again somebody can move on to. With this particular website, it will tell you here there's no need to register, so in order to do this part. However, when you get to certain other parts of this resource, you do need to register, which means you will need an email account. So that's Learn My Way. The third resource that I've got for you is Digital Unite, and this has been chosen because it's got some really good guides around the COVID-19 situation. So they vary from finding reliable COVID-19 news and information. How difficult is that? There's loads of fake news and fake stories that go around. It's really hard to separate fact from fiction. What is the truth and what is it that people are trying to spread? So that guide is really good for that. Obviously covers mental health, email, those of us remote working, there's some hints and tips and guide in that guide there. Hobbies and interests, shopping, so that might be something that you want to explore, or if somebody's got children they want to do stuff with. So loads of guides there. The final resource is AbilityNet, who is a charity, and they have volunteers who offer their support to people who are struggling with technology because of either their age or their disability. So the original premise of this was volunteers would go into people's home and sit there and help them. Obviously, they're not doing that at the moment because of the pandemic, but they are doing it by telephone. So you can still refer people into this service. It says it goes from setting up new equipment, fixing technical issues, showing you how to stay connected to family and use online services. So a whole variety of stuff. So if you don't have the time yourself, maybe you can signpost somebody to this. And obviously there's different ways you can request. What you do have to do, whether you ring or you just use this form, which is probably the quickest and easiest way of doing it, you do have to specify what support you require so that they can match you up to the right sort of individual. And also they want to know, because they are funded to obviously work with older people and disabled people of any age, they want to know what category you fall into so they can ensure that they are reaching the people they've been funded to reach. Okay. And you can request that home visit, which will then generate the telephone call. So hopefully that's lots of really useful resources for you to access. As I say, you can click directly from that link and they will open those up as they have done for me. That's pretty much come to the end of this session. So stay safe and well, everybody, and thank you.